The Peace Support Operations Division's mandate is to plan, launch, direct, sustain and liquidate all peace support operations approved by the African Union. So our function is to ensure that we've got the numbers that are required to ensure that our peace support operations are successful. We are to provide the necessary logistics to ensure that we have got the necessary equipment that is needed for us to do that. We see ourselves as being part of a conflict continuum that is a big spectrum in the mechanisms that are meant by the African Union to resolve conflicts. So we are not the first port of call. We come after the others, such as the Panel of the Wise, the early warning. Once those do not yield any results, we then the AU turns to the peace support operations, the Africa Standby Force, in order to ensure that space for peace is created, after which when we withdraw, then the other units kick in, such as the post-conflict reconstruction and development. So basically we are part of the team. We are not the only ones doing. Currently we've got the biggest mission that we have currently is in Somalia. It's the African Union mission in Somalia. It is our biggest mission. It has been there since 2007. Then we've got other smaller missions where we've got mostly military observers who are assisting the liaison officers, that is the AU liaison officers, which are dealing with conflict management, to ensure that we are able to ensure that the belligerents or the participants with the conflict stick to the conditions of that they signed for peace. So we've got presence in DRC, we've got presence in the CAR, we had a presence in Juba that we closed down. We've got presence even in West Africa. We're now thinking of going into Guinea-Bissau. So there's quite a number of these officers that are there that are doing this work.
The division of defense and security is very important, and it's a division that creates policies, and these policies will be implemented by member states and can be like this policy can be like an umbrella policies for member states. The mandate of the Defense and Security Division is to address issues of strategic nature vital to the peace and security of Africa and its development. Mainly, the division is concerned with three issues: arms control, disarmament and non-proliferation, counter-terrorism and security sector reform.
Security sector reform is a process of transforming the security institutions and personnel of the member states of the African Union, so that they become more professional in the implementation of their duties to provide peace and security on the African continent. Some call it security sector transformation, others call it security sector governance, but here we prefer to use the term which the United Nations also uses, of security sector reform. But basically the idea is the same, to make our forces more professional. And by the security sector, we mean the defense forces, we also mean the intelligence services, the prisons, and all the other services that support the security institutions of a member state. We are not only talking about the military forces, but all the services, including the institutions that govern and that support the security institutions.
The protocol establishing the Peace and Security Council of the African Union requires the chairperson to harmonize the activities of the Commission and the Peace and Security Council with those of the RECs and regional mechanisms. So, as part of these efforts to harmonize and coordinate the activities between the African Union and the regional mechanisms in the area of peace and security, the regional mechanisms have established liaison officers in Addis Ababa, so as to strengthen the relationship between the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms with the Peace and Security Department. The establishment of the unit has actually led to a closer relationship, so that we harmonize our activities. For instance, in conflict situations where a REC rather a regional economic community, where it has an added advantage, we give it, as the African Union, we give it a lead in handling that particular conflict. So we've seen that a closer relationship has had benefits on both sides. I think the unit is very important, and the fact that we signed this MOU, I think it has been very useful, and it has really brought us closer together than ever before.
I would say, of course, the challenge of resources. Peace is cost-effective, but it's also an expensive undertaking. And unfortunately, most of the resources we are using are provided by outside external partners. We are, of course, grateful to them. But the challenge here is that resources coming from outside are not flexible enough, are not predictable, and are not sufficient, to meet our needs. So this is a big challenge, and that's why over the past few years we have been engaged in activities aimed at generating more resources from within the continent, so that Africans can better own their initiatives in support of peace and security. A second challenge, which is also linked partly to financial issues, is the challenge in terms of human resources. We may be the best staff department in the EU Commission, but still the current staff level is far below what is really required, given the expectations placed on the EU to be literally everywhere. And I would say a third challenge, of course, has to do with the complexity of the situations we are dealing with. These are political issues, very complex. We have many interests at stake, and it's not always easy to bring people together and to reach agreements or common stand on issues that are confronting them. But the department is also here to precisely help generate those kind of solutions, but it's a challenge.
The department is really working in a team spirit, working closely with other departments in the Commission, but also, and more importantly, with our regional economic communities. We cannot do everything by ourselves. We have to completely work closely and to make sure that our activities supplement each other. That is the spirit of the African peace and security architecture. You have the pillars, you have the regional organizations, and you have the fact that each one of our African countries should strive in their daily behavior to avoid conflicts, to solve peacefully the differences and disputes that they may have with neighboring countries. They have also to abide by the rule of law, to develop constitutional order, so that we avoid internal strifes and internal difficulties that lead some